Salute. This is your boy Big Mike here with the Raiders Pop Off, episode 3. Hey, thank you guys for supporting me and what I got going here. We already got a little bit over 100 subscribers. Hey, keep running the numbers up. I appreciate what you guys are doing. But hey, I got a special guest here. He's a good friend of mine. You can find him on Royal Zealots. He does a lot of good stuff over there. I'll let him explain that to you. He's one of my best friends. I consider him a brother at this point. My kids call him uncle. Let me introduce you to Richie from the Royal Zealots. How you doing, bro?
Good morning, bro. How you doing, man?
I'm good,
well,
man.
I'm doing well
good,
over
man.
here too.
It's good to finally do this with you, man. And I do want to unpack some good questions. We talked about it a little bit backstage. It's just going to be us talking. It's just going to be what we do all the time, like, hey, just talking sports, talking football. We're going to talk a little bit about your Buccaneers. We're going to mix that up. Yeah. So, by the way, guys, this guy's a Bucs fan. Don't knock him too much for that. But you know what? There's a lot of parallels that I do want to uncover as far as these two franchises. We're gonna ignore the fact that they took care of business at the Super Bowl about 20 years ago, and we haven't been the same since. We'll ignore that. But yeah. So without further ado, let's get into this first question, man. I know that we talked a lot about the Raiders. You hear my grievances on a weekly basis after each game. You know how it goes, man. Let's talk about Raiders past, present, and future. From your perspective as a non-Raiders fan, give me your perspective on the franchise, where we were, where we are, and where we're going. Uncover it as best you can. Uncover it as much as you can. Go ahead and pop off, bro.
All right, bro. So Raiders history, I'm not big on it, but as a fan of the NFL, I know that you guys won 3 Super Bowls, 2 with Madden, 1 with Flores. You guys at that time were like America's bad boys, right?
Yeah.
You guys were like gangster. You guys will hit people in the mouth and don't give 2 F's about it.
Yes, sir.
That was what the Raiders organization was, man. Like, you sported that black and silver back in the 70s. Like, you were very proud because, man, just something about the Raiders then, it was tough. It was grindy. It was, literally biting and, biting and fighting and all that. Now, it really hasn't been like that, and that's probably most of the NFL now. Everybody's friends, right? Everybody in the NFL are friends, no matter what team, no matter what team rivalries there are, like between the Bucs and the Saints. It's always going to be a bit of rival, but there's always just going to be a little bit more physicality to it. So you never know what's going to happen. But the way the Raiders that we see it now, it's I see it. I compare it to what the Bucs are right now. You guys are like talented. You guys have a lot of pieces in place. Max Crosby to start with. I mean, 4th round pick, and that dude's a beast, like monster. Yep. He's in the quarterback's face all game long. If he's not getting sacks, he's pretty damn close to getting it,
Yep.
And considering that year, you guys had another defensive lineman you guys drafted in the 1st round, Cleveland Farrell.
Cleveland Farrell,
Cleveland Farrell, there you go.
Yep.
Like, what happened to that dude? Like, that dude was a national champion. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So having Max Crosby, now I know a lot of Raider fans are not happy with Derek Carr, but he's a good quarterback. He really is. Not sure what it is, him and your new coach,
Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels, yeah. Maybe it's just a year 1 slump. I don't know. but it just hasn't been quite working out. But he's still a good quarterback. You just don't, he's still young. You just don't know how to quarterback overnight. So I think they're still working things out with that. Josh Jacobs is how it's funny because I can only relate to how you see players and I can only compare it to like my Bucs, right?
Yep.
And I see the same situation as when we had the muscle hamster,
Yeah.
Doug Martin, right?
Yep.
And I know, Mike, I'm sorry I have to bring up Doug Martin. We watched that Raiders Bucs game back in 2012, and
I think we were watching that together, weren't we?
We were at the Yard House.
That's
Me,
right.
and Alex, man.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like every time he touched the ball, it's like, look, it's probably for another touchdown, right?
Yeah.
He went for like 60 yards and like 20 yards and 40 yards. Like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, that game sits into my soul because I remember the numbers. He went for 255 that game.
Yeah,
I'll never forget it.
He actually had 260 something, but he had a couple negative runs at towards the end.
Yeah.
But okay, but to compare Doug Martin to Josh Jacobs, like, so the both first round draft picks, I believe, right? Josh Jacobs is.
Yep.
And in the similarities of like they both excelled their rookie years, and then and then a couple of drop off years, and now they're in contract years. And I remember like with Doug Martin, his contract year, he popped off again.
Yeah.
Was like second in the league with like rushing yards, and I feel like that's what's happening with Josh Jacobs. Like he's having a contract year, and he's balling out. Like he's trying to play for a new contract, either with the Raiders or with someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, that 80-something yard walk off last week against Seattle was just like, damn.
You know what was crazy about it is that my whole knock against Josh Jacobs was he doesn't have that burst speed, that breakaway speed, and then now he has breakaway speed. We haven't seen that in 4 years we've had him. Like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
And that's exactly what we were saying with like what Doug Martin, man. Like, because Doug Martin was like getting hurt here and there, so he wasn't ever like 100%. He was like a constant workout guy. Like he was like one of the strongest guys on the team, and there was concern that maybe he's working out too much. Like he's wearing his body out too much. That's what that's what we were thinking. Anyway, so enough about that. But like right now, Raiders can be a good team because the roster is pretty legit. Just now for the future with Josh McDaniels, he's trying to bring something, and this is what we see a lot with the New England coaches or the New England tree that branches out, right? Yep. Former coordinators and stuff like that come from Bill Belichick. They get head coaching jobs elsewhere, and it never works out. Right? I think the longest stint is Bill O'Brien with the Texans, and he went 7 years and he won a couple division titles, but but damn, he mismanaged that team like that last year, and just they've been in shambles since. It's been what, 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
And sadly he's been the most successful coach under Belichick to have had a head coaching job, because everyone else hasn't. I mean, this is Josh McDaniels' second stint.
Yeah.
And it's not looking good. All right. No. It's not looking good because like he's trying to bring this play smarter kind of mentality, which is it's necessary. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it's bad or anything, but for whatever reason, it's like that play smarter isn't meshing well with what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And that could go under, mismanaging the time, making some bad decisions. And we all know that when it comes to the NFL, all it really takes is like 3-4 decisions that will cost you a game. And it's
Absolutely.
not. I mean, aside from like the Saints game, you guys really haven't been blown out. At least I recall.
No, we've been all one possession games every game.
Yeah. Okay. So, and damn it, I picked you guys, man. I picked you guys to beat the Saints. Ah, God, I hate those guys.
Yeah. Hey, we got a fat donut in that game. So, to your point, man, Josh McDaniels, I agree with you. I think that he's having a tough time managing the team, managing plays, decision making. There's things that he's just kind of missing the mark on. My concern is that he's going to lose his locker room if he's trying to bring that Patriot way, trying to be Bill Belichick Jr. That's my fear for the Raiders and where they go with Josh McDaniels. As far as the past goes, you did mention like the Raiders being the bad boys of the NFL, the bad boys of the league. It was a symbol. It was a statement. If you walked out with some Raiders gear on, you were seen as the bad boy, right? It was not just representing the football team. It was a lifestyle almost. Tie that in now. Do you see, we're talking about the future now. Do you see it still kind of being that way as far as the Raiders kind of holding that mystique, that statement? Because for me personally, I don't think that the whole bad boy image, I think it kind of wore out now. And I think that the Raiders are in an identity crisis as far as trying to find where they stand as far as being the bad boys or just an identity in general. Now that they're in Vegas. Now, as far as the future goes, where do you see the Raiders headed as far as kind of withholding that, or not withholding, but kind of keeping that bad boy image? Do you see that still trying to be existent, or do you see them going a different route?
I think it might be a different route. Okay. I think that bad boy thing isn't really in the NFL anymore too much. Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, wearing black and silver was a statement. It was don't F with me, right? Yep. Unfortunately, here in LA, we get a lot of like gang members who wear that sports attire, right? If they're gonna wear like sports attire, it's usually gonna be like something Raiders, as like that statement. Don't F with us. No one's really gonna be wearing like a Vikings jersey, or that doesn't necessarily say bad boy, right? Yeah. I'm just saying. But where the future is going with this, I think that's all in the NFL. That this bad boy mentality, don't F with us, is out the door now, because there's really no team that's really like that. Look at the Steelers. They've always been known for like a hard-nosed defense. Still pretty good defensively, but overall the team is still unsuccessful. And it's sadly for the Raiders, because that was you guys, 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. And I'm sorry, Mike, but you said
say how it is, man. This is why I have you on the show, man. Say exactly how it is.
Ever since Super Bowl 37, it just has not been the same for the Raiders.
Absolutely.
I mean, a true Raider fan since then knows how many coaches the Raiders have gone through since then. How many different quarterbacks they've gone through, and for whatever reason, this success just hasn't been there. Yeah. So where the Raiders are going to, it's just not. It's definitely not the bad boy mentality anymore. Yeah. And it's just and I could say this for my Bucs too. It's both teams have just been bad. Especially this season. Not to say that they've been playing bad football, but like they're not finding ways to to get what's done. And when you have talent on the team, but you're still not getting the results, usually the blame is on the coach or coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. And you do make a good point. The bad boy mentality I think, is kind of dead as far as trying to hold that within the NFL. The fan base is going to still hold on to that, but if anybody who's a true Raider fan, and I'm not just talking about wearing the colors. I'm talking about guys who are going on Sundays, spending their money, going to games, hitting the tailgate, watching the games on Sunday on a weekly basis, like myself. That mentality of being the bad boy on the team is pretty much done, and we haven't seen it in years. So I think moving on to Vegas, we need to see that. Oh, we need to see a new identity. We need to see, like, okay, so we know the Steelers are going to be a hard-nosed defense. We know the Bears are going to bring a hard-nosed defense. We know Team B, Team C is going to run the ball. The Ravens, we know what they bring to the table. They have an identity. What I think the Raiders need to do is that they need to find an identity within Vegas. Is it going to be like, hey, this is where a lot of scoring happens? This is going to be where, we air the ball out and we score 30 a game and defense is kind of out the window. You're going to get a show. Is it going to be that kind of deal? But whatever it is, the Raiders need to find an identity because they haven't had one in quite a while. And the only identity we do have as a franchise is that bad boy mentality that's it's lost its luster. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's faded. And we need to find a new one in order for us to gain respectability in the NFL to other NFL teams. And that's why I have you here, man, is because I love to hear people's perspective outside of the Raider Nation, because the Raider Nation is, they got the rose-colored glasses on. Sometimes I do as well. So it's good for me to see, like, from somebody else, their perspective on how they see the Raiders, especially in the last 20 years. So, that was perfect, man. Perfect take. I think we unpacked that first question pretty good. I'm going to move on to the second one. I think this one is a lot more it kind of ties in the Bucs, the Raiders. It kind of does to an extent, right? We both have a cult favorite that played in the backfield. Us being Bo Jackson, that was our guy for in the 80s going into the 90s for a few years. If he would have lasted a little bit longer, he would have been in the Hall of Fame. For you guys, it's Mike Alstott. Now here's a secret. Yeah, here's a secret. And you got the jersey on, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I love the fullback position. The fullback position is my favorite position in football. It's died over the years, but the fullback growing up was my favorite position. And here's the secret, guys. Mike Alstott was the first jersey I've ever owned. Before I've owned any jersey, including a Raiders one, it was a Mike Alstott jersey because I loved the way he played the fullback position and how versatile he was. So, in saying all that, man, can you give me an explanation on Mike Alstott, his impact to the game, and kind of give a parallel to Bo Jackson? Now, I know Bo Jackson is he was an icon beyond NFL. He also played baseball. He was, but can you find a parallel between Bo Jackson and Mike Alstott?
I'll do my best.
Yeah,
I'll do my best.
It might be a little reach, but I think I see parallels to an extent. So I want to see if if we're on the same page with that.
Okay. All right. So, if you're trying to compare them, I think it's incomparable.
Yeah.
As far as like their statistics and their runs or, running styles and how they were used. However, when it comes to like the love from the fans, Mike Alstott is a top 3 fan favorite, right? Probably number 1 offensively, because Mike Alstott worked, he was 8-9 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The thing is that I don't think he's a Hall of Famer by any means. Unlike Bo Jackson, had he continued playing, had he not got that hip injury, he probably would have been in the Hall of Fame. You know, if he had at least 2 to 3 more years of playing.
Yeah.
But with Mike Alstott, just he's a Tampa Bay icon, right? Yeah. This guy with the ball in his hand, he would just go up the middle, and if you needed a yard, he's gonna get that first down for you.
Yep.
And then some. And he'll probably there's also that possibility of him taking it to the house.
Yeah.
And not only is he taking it to the house, he's probably going to have a couple defenders dragging with him going into the end zone.
Yes, sir.
That was Mike Alstott. Matter of fact, the Buccaneers radio caller, his name is Gene Deckerhoff, he coined a phrase called saying, Alstott, up the gut. And that's just that every time Alstott had that, and you just hear that voice of Gene Deckerhoff, it just gives you chills, man. And it gives me chills of a better time or a fun time, because he's a big reason why I became a Bucs fan too. Him and Warwick Dunn. And man, I mean, they call him the A Train for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when you look at his running style, he's not like Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was fluid, man. He's fast, he's big, and he's elusive, right? Mm-hmm. And just gosh, like Bo was just like smooth, like just not really Alstott. Alstott was, I'm gonna pound you, come stop me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
And we fell in love with him. And like he said, it wasn't just Tampa Bay fans who loved him. It's other fan bases at that time.
Myself.
Yeah. I mean, at that time, maybe Tampa wasn't so successful during that time, before 2002. We had some, ups and downs at the time, but Mike Alstott was always a good topic to bring up. It's like,
yes, sir.
You're a Bucs fan? I would always say, like, I get this a lot. Oh, you're a Bucs fan? Oh, damn, but Mike Alstott, he's pretty good. Hell yeah, he is. Hell yeah, he is. But his numbers aren't going to reflect Hall of Fame. He'll never be in the Hall of Fame, unfortunately. Even as a fan, I don't think he'll ever be there. But man, he's in the hearts of Tampa. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and you know what? That's kind of where I was getting at as far as the parallels go. I'm not talking about Bo Jackson is transcended beyond as far as athleticism, his impact in sports in general. He was a two sport athlete. He was very successful with the Kansas City Royals. He was successful with the LA Raiders at the time. The problem was that he played for a short amount of time. Now, the parallels go is that we both, as a fan base, the Raiders fan base, the Bucs fan base, we think of Bo Jackson, we think of Mike Alstott, we connected with good times. We connected with, oh, man, what could have been, And those numbers that they both have aren't quantifiable for a Hall of Fame nod. But, these are guys that are impactful, so impactful in the sport that you have to write a few paragraphs in the history books for these guys,
Oh yeah.
In the NFL, just period. Now, Bo Jackson, he was a freak athlete, and you got to write a few paragraphs in the history books in the NFL history book for Bo Jackson. Mike Alstott, he revolutionized the fullback position. He played the traditional fullback position, but he can also run the ball. He was a running back as well. And you could also say he was the last of a dying breed, because you don't see another fullback, you don't see another running back, you don't see power backs his size anymore in today's NFL. And you haven't seen one since him. And you can argue and say that you haven't seen a running back since Bo Jackson like that. Somebody that has that size and that speed. So that's why I say that these two guys are so unique. that there's a parallel there. You know, that they brought a uniqueness to the NFL in its history. That it's not quantifiable as far as a Hall of Fame nod goes, but if you're going to write that history book, you got to put a couple of paragraphs in there for both these guys. So that's where I put my parallels with those two guys. What you think about that, bro?
I like it, Mike. Actually, I wanted to ask you if you could pick anyone since the Bo Jackson era. If you could pick anyone who was close to that kind of running back that he was, who would you say was that anyone in the NFL? I have someone in mind, so I want to hear what you have first.
Adrian Peterson.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
Adrian Peterson.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what the special thing about Adrian Peterson was? This man tore his ACL, came out the next season, and almost broke Eric Dickerson's record the following season.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, and he came back in like 7 months from an ACL injury.
That's unheard of.
That's unheard of. So I guess that, Bo Jackson kind of had like a clone of himself to an extent, with Adrian Peterson. But dude, like I think that Bo Jackson, if he would have just played a little bit longer, we'd be talking about him up there with the Emmitt Smiths, the Barry Sanders of the world. Like those are the guys that he would be compared to. LaDainian Tomlinson's. Those are the guys that Bo Jackson, I think he would be compared to if he played and didn't get injured,
Yeah, another player that comes to mind is Terrell Davis. I mean,
same guy, same thing.
Right? I mean, he didn't play a long time, but the amount of time he did play, it was very impactful, led the league in rushing and touchdowns. And he only played 4 or 5 years, something like that, as a full-time starter?
Yeah, about 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah. But I mean, somehow, some way, slithered his way into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you're someone in a position or plays a specialty position and you lead the league in something, whether it be rush, yards or touchdowns or all-purpose yards, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
it also helps that he won 2 Super Bowls.
That definitely helps. That definitely helps. See, and I think that's a big knock on Mike Alstott is because he never really led the league in any of those categories.
Yep.
He got a lot of touchdowns. He got a lot of yards. He got a hell of a lot of broken tackles. Which is really a stat you don't really see.
Yeah.
And he does have one Super Bowl, but that's about it. That's why he won't make it into the Hall of Fame because he never led the NFL in anything. So, but he leads all our hearts in Tampa.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then he caught me as a young Raiders fan. I looked at Mike Alstott. I was like, man, that dude's a bruiser. I love the way he plays. So yeah, you're right, man. He went beyond the Bucs fan base and had a cult following. Me as myself as a young 6th grader at the time, I owned a Mike Alstott jersey. So, props to him. Props to those legends, Bo Jackson and Mike Alstott. But we're gonna move on to the next question, and it's a pretty tough question. It's two guys. It's a guy that he's crossed paths with both of our franchises. Jon Gruden. He brought the Bucs. He brought the Bucs their first Super Bowl, right? Brought them their first Super Bowl. We know the story behind that. It was really Tony Dungy's team. I get it. But the history book says he won you guys the first Super Bowl. Explain in detail how the fan base views Jon Gruden as a head coach, and where does he sit in the hierarchy of Bucs history?
So Jon Gruden actually, I think with the fan base, there's a split. There's a split. You either love him or you hate him.
Okay.
Majority of us will say that we love him because he was our head coach when we won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And not only did we win the Super Bowl, he did it in his first year against his old team.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not how we won the Super Bowl. It's not just winning the Super Bowl. It's how we won the Super Bowl too. With everything behind it, right?
Yep.
That Super Bowl 37, that wasn't just the Super Bowl. That was Gruden Bowl. Right?
Absolutely. Yep.
That was Gruden Bowl. So, but the thing, what hits us in the belly when it comes to Jon Gruden is that we never really came close to that success, after that. And he was with the Bucs for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, and this is what we feel with Jon Gruden, and maybe me and you, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Jon Gruden, he doesn't know how to build a Super Bowl team.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He doesn't know how to build it.
Yeah.
Right. He likes getting quarterbacks for some reason later on in the rounds in the NFL draft rounds.
Yeah.
His scheme, offensive scheme, it's so complicated.
Yeah.
It's not easy to learn. And yeah, you can love his the way he thinks because he's he wants to attack, but there is something about him. I'm trying to remember because it's been so long now, but sometimes mismanaging games.
Agreed.
Just the whole purpose is that the whole thing is he never lived up to the expectations of what we all wanted him to do. Good offensive mind, good philosophy, kind of, but just never really good at executing it. And sometimes they say there's a saying out there your team inherits your coach's mentality.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I think that's what we were.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. Now, the best way I can put it is that Jon Gruden he's a good coach, but he's a terrible evaluator. Now, the problem with Now, the problem with Jon Gruden is that he wants to be not just a head coach. He also wants to in other words, he wants to not only cook the meal, he also wants to buy the groceries. And that doesn't work in today's NFL. You need to let your GM, you need to let, the front office make those decisions. And as a head coach, you put it together. Now you can put your 2 cents in based on philosophy and how your scheme is going to be run. You could throw that in there. But the problem with Jon Gruden is that he wants to do GM as well. And that's the problem you get with the Raiders having multiple first-round picks in his regime become busts. You got Cleveland Farrell, you named him. You got Jonathan Abram, we cut him this year. Alex Leatherwood, we gave him 1 year and he was done. Who else? Henry Ruggs, unfortunately, that didn't work out, but that was for different reasons. Damon Arnett, he's gone, and these are first-round picks. Now, the problem with Jon Gruden was that he wants to be the smartest guy in the room and reach for guys instead of going for the sure shot. Now, if all those draft picks if you just would have went for the sure shot, you'd be talking about the Raiders going to the Super Bowl at this point. Instead, now we're kind of in a reload, almost rebuild type of situation because all of those first-round picks didn't work out. Luckily for him is that it worked out in those later rounds to being the smartest guy in the room with the Max Crosbys, the Hunter Renfros, picking up Darren Waller out of the scrap heap and Alec Ingold as a undrafted free agent. Those are the guys that he built around because he picked pretty well late. And I think you can agree with me here is that he would make good moves late. But when it came to the first round, that's where he missed his mark.
Yeah, yes and no. At least with the Bucs. Under Gruden, he did have some good picks in the first round.
Yep.
Well, his first 2 years, we didn't have a first or second round draft pick because we traded them to you guys for the trade for Jon Gruden.
Yeah, I can't even remember who we picked then.
Yeah. So let me see. I think one of them was Robert Gallery.
Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
that didn't work out too well.
Sorry, bro. I didn't
Yeah.
even bring that up, man. But let's see. So his first draft pick, that was the first round, was Gaines Adam. Gaines Adam, unfortunately, didn't exactly work out. He after his first contract, or I think we cut him or we traded him. I don't remember. He ended up going to the Bears, and shortly, about a year after, he passed away from some type of cardiomyopathy.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2005 was Cadillac Williams. Cadillac Williams was actually a pretty good draft pick. Yeah. The thing is that he was rookie of the year that year.
Yeah.
But Cadillac Williams was way overused and blew out both his knees in the process at a young age, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I don't even think. I know he went to the Rams for a little bit after his first contract. Let me see. 2006 was Davin Joseph, who was an offensive lineman, a guard. Mm-hmm. And he was actually a Pro Bowler, so that was pretty good. 2007 was Aqib Talib. No. That was 2008.
Yeah.
Aqib Talib was 2008.
Yeah.
2007. Who was our first round draft pick? He's gonna kill me. Okay, so you guys want to let you know, this is me being a true Bucs fan. I'm not no Brady hopper. All right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, put that out there. This isn't a Brady hopping Bucs fan. This is Bucs fan through and through. So we can respect that for sure, definitely.
Oh man, who was our 2007 first round draft pick? This is gonna kill me. This is gonna kill me. Hold on, I gotta look it up. I gotta look it up.
No problem, bro.
Watch. It's gonna come up, and I'm gonna be like, dang it. Buccaneers, 2007 draft. Oh, 2007 was Gaines Adam.
Okay.
So who was 2004? Oh, 2004 was Michael Clayton, wide receiver from LSU.
Yeah, he was nice for a little bit.
He was good his first year.
Yeah.
And then just kind of caca after that, man.
But you know what? You can kind of blame that on Jon Gruden, to be honest with you. I mean, he ran Cadillac Williams to the ground. He didn't utilize Clayton like he was supposed to. And I see the same things with what he did with the Raiders. He didn't utilize the guys that he picked up properly. I mean, you see the same thing, and I think that's kind of where we can kind of see eye to eye is that, he picks up these draft picks and he just doesn't utilize them the way he should.
Yeah. Well, him when he first came to the Bucs, actually him and our GM at the time was Rich McKay. He's now the president and I think for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yep.
They weren't seeing eye to eye because Rick McKay was more like he built the Bucs defensively, right? And that's because that's more Tony Dungy's way. But Rich McKay was a big reason why we got Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, Ronde Barber, Simeon Rice is a big reason why he signed with us. So when. So him and Rich McKay, Jon Gruden and Rich McKay didn't really get along. So Rich McKay left, went to the Falcons, and hired Bruce Allen as our GM. Okay. So, they had a better rapport. Bruce Allen was the GM, I think, for the Raiders when they were together. Something like that.
No, we had Mike Mayock, and then
No. Early 2000s, like when Gruden, his first stint.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Yeah. So, I know that they worked together before. I just don't remember if he was the GM at the time. But at least, they knew each other, and this is why it's important why GMs and head coaches need to be on the same page so that way they're not conflicting with their styles.
Right.
But, Yeah, but we had some hits. It just didn't work out for us.
Yeah,
But I do agree with you that like the later rounds, we got some good later round picks with us. Um, like one person that really comes to mind is defensive back. His name is Tenard Jackson. He was a cornerback out of Syracuse. He was a fourth or fifth round draft pick. He was a stud. He
yeah.
just couldn't get off the weed, and
Oh man, yeah,
so he couldn't get off the weed, and eventually just saw himself out of the NFL in like 3 or 4 years. So, but man, the talent was there. So that was just like an example of some of the later draft picks that were successful but didn't work out.
yeah. And Jon Gruden, he laid his stamp on, especially in the second stint with the Raiders. With the Bucs. At first, it was like things were kind of going up, and then I don't know. I don't know if it's like the team kind of grew tired of his philosophy and what he brought to the table, and you saw that decline. You almost saw the same thing happening with the Raiders before his whole allegations with the emails and all that stuff came out. Um, you could see that he put a stamp on the team, but later on in the season, late in the season, the Raiders will fall apart. So
Yeah,
I don't know if like it was like they just kind of grew tired of what he was bringing to the table. It was nice at first, but late in the season they're like, all right, dude, get out of my face. Basically, I don't know, but you've seen it with both teams. That teams kind of crumble and fall apart over time. So I think we uncovered that one. I had another question, but it was about the game Raiders and Chargers. I'm gonna leave that one alone because we're going a little bit past the time I wanted to go.
oh damn, I
Yeah,
didn't realize.
yeah, it's that easy, bro. But
Yeah.
I do want to talk about. I kind of went over Zealots. I didn't properly introduce you at first, so I do want to talk about Royal Zealots. I'm going to read off what I saw in the description on the YouTube. It's a nonprofit organization that shares positive and creative content influenced by comics, pop culture, and nostalgia. Content is shared via media outlets such as social media, sharing websites, and music streaming services.
Right.
You guys do great work over there. Let me know what you guys do in your words. Lay it out for everybody. Plug it so everybody can go over there and check it out. Raider Nation can come support you, man.
Cool. Thanks. So the three of us, so Royal Zealots is actually my buddy who I work with at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. He came to me with this idea a year and a half ago, and he said, "Hey, I want to put a podcast together and talk about comic movies and Star Wars and stuff, all that nerdy content out there, and just have fun with it." And I also want to tie it in where we take someone in the medical field and kind of give them their flowers, give them some type of recognition.
I love that the
And that's
most, man. What you guys
and
do.
and
That's the greatest
that's
thing.
that's what makes it more, that's a big reason why I want to do this too, is because being in the medical field myself, um, especially in a time when we started this, it was just after that big wave of COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of people have lost their lives or have been affected by it. Unfortunately, I'm going through it right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but it was for some time to get recognition out there, because unfortunately, with in the medical field, you always just see the praise for the doctors and the nurses, but what about all the other staff in there, the X-ray techs, the phlebotomists, the ultrasound techs, the imaging people, the people who have to go in there and clean, people who have to go in there and give the food to people. Like that. That's all part of that of the system of getting someone back to health, right?
Yep.
Trying and diagnosing, figuring out, and getting them back to health. So we so shout out to CJ for starting this, because
Yeah.
CJ is the person who really put this all together. Um, And then that nerd Mike. And Mike is we call him Marvel Mike sometimes because his mind just has he's a big comic geek. So he's our go-to guy when it comes to the movies being compared to the comics and the subtle changes that they had to do and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm there just I'm a big Star Wars fan, so
Yep.
that's my big part. Excuse me. And I like to bring the laughs if I can.
Yeah.
but 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 for the most part, that's what we do, man. We just talk about the content that's being put out there by DC, Marvel, Star Wars, sometimes Amazon Prime, sometimes Netflix. Kind of go through it, talk about it, give our feels about it, and then the most important part is recognizing someone in the medical field that you at the time was more COVID related, but now we're kind of shifting away from the COVID thing and just in general
Yeah.
giving their flowers. So and when someone is when we do recognize someone, this person is given like a little comic badge reel with one of their choice, well, whichever we have in stock, a $25 gift card and a little Royal Zealots drawstring backpack. So if you guys have anyone in mind in the medical field, you would like to see some type of recognition, reach out to us. Reach out to us and give us their story, and we'd reach out and we'd love to do that.
Man, that sounds awesome, man. But you know what? I'm gonna say this: you guys are doing a good thing there. Like not just the content itself, but just recognizing those frontline workers that, especially during that time, they were putting their life on the line. They were putting themselves on the line for the sake of others, and including yourself. I salute you for that because, dude, that was a tough time, and I know that your health situation as well as far as COVID goes and kind of being at risk for that. You still went out there and did your thing, man. So big salute to you, and big salute to Royal Zealots for doing that and bringing awareness and honoring those medical workers who deserve a lot more credit than they do. So,
thank you, bro.
Here's the bonus question, man. Here's the bonus question, and I'm gonna read something to you. I'm gonna read something to you before I ask this question, and it ties in a little bit of both the Royal Zealot and what I got here as far as Raider Nation goes. So I found this on Wikipedia. It's a Star Wars fandom page.
Yes.
And I'm gonna read the quote here because I want to make sure that I get this right. All right. It says, this is talking about the dark side. We like to compare the Raiders to, the Darth Vader, the dark side. Our stadium is named after the Death Star, all that stuff, So here we go. To tap into the power of the dark side was to indulge in raw emotions such as passion, anger, and hatred. The dark side was greed, the fear of change, and the inability to let go. By holding on to things, one became angry and hateful, which in turn led to suffering. Those who were unable to conquer their dark side was devoured by it. Are the Raiders fully immersed in the dark side? Because that sounds like a lot of stuff that we're going through right now. What do you think, man?
You can make that argument for the Raiders, for the Patriots, right now for the Bucs, right?
Yeah.
Just about any team out there, man.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves to Cowboy fans, especially.
Yeah.
Everyone lives to live in the nostalgia of when their teams used to win or was winning or had a championship season. I know for me, up until 2020, that's all I had was recapturing that 2020 or the 2002 season when we won the Super Bowl. We weren't expected to. So so yes, you can definitely say that is the Raiders. I will also argue that that's a lot of the teams who has not had winning seasons coming from a history of winning. Like I said before, look at the Patriots. They haven't been the same since Brady. Look at the Cowboys. They haven't been the same since the 90s. Let me see. Look at the Niners. Niners have had good seasons, but they haven't won a Super Bowl since the 90s. Yep. You know what I mean? So there's you can make that argument for just about any NFL team, except for Detroit or Jacksonville.
yeah, you're right.
Who's historically has been bad, but so yeah, that would be my answer. Is that yes, there's an argument for that to be the Raiders. Yes, the Raiders have had the what's called the Death Star nickname for the new stadium.
Yep.
Look, to me, it looks like one of those vacuums, but just a Roomba.
Yeah.
Roombas. But from what I hear, I've never been, but it's a beautiful stadium.
Beautiful.
Other than that, so yeah, I'll say yes. I'll say yes to your question, Mike. With the side answer that most teams could also have that argument as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think the difference is that we're fully embracing the hate and we're fully embracing the dark side. The dark and all that stuff. Like,
in all honesty, I think there's like the Raiders and the Cowboys who are always subject for jokes. Always.
Yeah.
Always. Unfortunately, with Cowboys fandoms, they're just a little bit more obnoxious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every year it's their year since the 90s.
Yeah.
Even if they're going, 8-8 or something like that, or at the time it was 8-8. But don't get me wrong, they're a good team. Yeah. But they've definitely been easy targets to make fun of. Raiders have always been an easy target to make fun of too, but I think at this point it's become a little bit more sad, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit more sad because it's like, everyone knows the Raiders can be a good team.
Yeah.
Can be a good team. You guys got, have the talent there. It's just we'll see what coaching and management does with it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But hey, dude, I think it's time to sign off on this show. Dude, I love you, man. Thanks for coming on my show, man. I think we had a good talk here. We went well over the time, but it was a good time. And I do appreciate you, everything you do. I'm gonna have the Royal Zealots link into my comments to make sure everybody go checks it out. And once again, man, I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate you being my brother. I appreciate you being there for the kids, my wife, especially when I was going on deployment, all that stuff. Like, dude, you're the best, man. And I love you. And, I'm going to see you real soon, of course. But thanks for everything, bro. I appreciate it.
Bro, it's you don't even need to thank me, man. That's just what we do in the family. So.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Raiders Pop Off 3, episode 3. That was it. Like and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Share it with everybody. And there it is, man. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Peace out.